Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to the voice of the times. This Thursday, March 17, 2022. For today's editorial, Stop Doing Business with Russia. The war being waged by Russia against the Ukraine is unjustifiable and cruel and must be stopped immediately. That is the official position of the Republic of the Philippines by virtue of its affirmative vote on the March 2 UN General Assembly resolution, condemning Russia's actions and demanding that hostilities cease. It is high time the government and the Philippine business community honor that position, cooperate with the sanctions imposed on Russia by Europe, the United States, and much of the rest of the world, and otherwise suspend business and exchange activities with the aggressor. To be sure, we take no pleasure in making this call to action. The Philippines has enjoyed good relations with Russia, and until it launched its invasion of the Ukraine, there were bright prospects of even larger opportunities in the areas of trade, energy, tourism, and cultural exchange. We fervently hope that these opportunities will still exist in the future. At present, however, Russia's aggression cannot be condoned or overlooked. Russia's grievances with the Ukraine or other factors, real or imagined, causing friction with its European and NATO rivals, in no way justify an armed invasion targeting civilians, journalists, and non-military infrastructure, and with the stated purpose of overthrowing a sovereign, duly elected democratic government. If the Philippines were in the Ukraine's place, our people would not accept it, and would demand that the rest of the world reject it as well. As the Philippines has already expressed its official position on the war, we believe that putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, is a moral imperative. That is an important enough reason to sanction Russia, but there are actually even more practical reasons for doing so. The first reason is national self-interest. As the US, Europe, and other nations have imposed a wide range of severe economic sanctions on Russia, the government and business sector of the Philippines face a significant risk of being caught up in them. At least two high-profile deals between the Philippines and Russia are directly subject to Western sanctions, these being the Department of National Defense's contract to purchase Russian-built Mi-17 helicopters, and the agreement between the government and the Russian nuclear agency Rosatom for development of nuclear energy in the Philippines. Both of these arrangements should be immediately suspended, as it is entirely likely that any attempt to push through with them while the other sanctions are in place will lead to punitive action being taken against the Philippines. Sanctions are working. In similar fashion, other business dealings with Russia may be viewed by the rest of the world as undermining efforts to remove Russia's ability to continue its campaign in the Ukraine. While it is true that certain countries such as India and China are continuing to do business with Russia, albeit in a more cautious manner than previously, the Philippines must recognize its realpolitik limitations. The US and Europe may feel that taking action against India or China for their non-cooperation would be problematic, but they would have no such reservations about the Philippines. Another factor that should encourage the Philippines to cooperate with sanctions against Russia is the somewhat surprising but undeniable fact that they appear to be working toward their intended objective of ending the conflict. While the Russian armed forces clearly are still a grave threat to the Ukrainians, it is also clear that their ability to pursue their military objectives is quickly being degraded. In spite of Russia's careful control of the news from within its own borders, it is also apparent that the number of ordinary Russians who are against the war is growing, discontent that will become unmanageable if it continues to spread. By suspending business with Russia, cooperating with or at least complementing the sanctions already imposed, the Philippines will be doing its part to help bring the conflict to an end. That, after all, is what everyone should want, and if this country can play a part in hastening the conclusion, it should not hesitate to do so. And that's the editorial for Thursday, March 17, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.